How can you make a success of your first leadership role? That's a question I've been asked a good few times. So let's get into it. Here's a message I got from a student. English isn't their first language, so I've edited it a little bit for clarity. First of all, hearty congratulations for putting up such an insightful course on leadership. I really like the course name, as everyday leadership is an hourly need and not just a conference discussion. I'll put a link to that course in the description, along with a discount code for my YouTube viewers. My student goes on to say, I'm at the cusp of a transition from my old company to a new company. And with the new company, my role is going to be more of a leadership role, and it is going to be the first time for me. So I'm excited and at the same time extremely anxious about handling this situation. So I wanted to understand from you, how do I handle this situation and make an amazing mark, not only on my team, but also to senior management at large? What a great question, and there are many parts to the answer. In this video, I'm going to give you some of the highlights of the things that occurred to me as I was drafting my response. First, managing upwards will be a big part of your response to this new situation, and therefore a big part of your success in your role. Just because you've got the label of leader now, it doesn't mean you won't have a boss. You will. And of course, it's your boss who is likely to make the formal assessment of your success as a leader, rather than the people who you are leading, who probably have the best idea. Pearson commissioned me to write a book about this, about managing upwards, for their low-cost ebook series, Business Express. The book is called Managing Upwards Successfully. Build a successful and effective working relationship with your boss. And I'll put a link to that as well in the description below. It's only short, it's not expensive. From that book, I drew some really important tips. And the first secret is to get your relationship with your new boss off on the right foot from day one. And a large part of that is communicating well. And as we all know, an important part of communicating well is good listening. Listen to what your boss wants, ask them questions and listen to the answers, so you know how best to serve your boss. And that way, satisfy them that you're doing a good job. When you know what they expect of you and you're able to fulfill it, you'll be able to achieve the most important part of any relationship: trust. But to do this, you need to demonstrate your credibility and your reliability. And you need to focus on the needs of your organization and its clients and customers and wider community. And when thinking about how to prioritize what those needs are, an important part of that is understanding what your boss considers the priorities to be. Next, as the relationship grows, you need to get to know your boss as well as you can. Find out their style, find out their preferences, find out their priorities. What is it that makes them tick? What's important to them? The attitude of asking them questions and then listening to them will impress them far more than any claimed abilities that you have yet to demonstrate. And funnily enough, when people find themselves speaking a lot with other people and sensing that the other person is a good listener, they tend to start to trust that that good listener is a person that they can rely on. But of course, listening can't be everything. Once you figure out what their priorities are, you need to prioritize them and deliver on them. Demonstrate to your boss that you really heard what they wanted and that you're able to act on it. Next, you need to take responsibility whenever you can. Step up and always deliver on it. And deliver on time. But remember, your boss doesn't know that you are on schedule. So for longer activities, make it your business to keep them updated. even if all you're doing is reminding them of the deadline and how you are on track to meet it. Because if 2 weeks go by, your boss may not realize that you're working hard and you are on schedule. In their unconscious mind, they're just thinking, I haven't heard from them for a long time. Maybe they're struggling. And once you have delivered, ask for feedback. And then listen to what you get without challenging it. Make notes and then take action on that feedback to show your boss that you're constantly seeking to improve your performance. Ultimately, this all amounts to you making yourself their ally and showing them that you can help them to succeed. Next, you need to be proud of your own professionalism, but recognize that in a leadership role, your principal job is not to be good at what you do, but to be good at helping other people do what they do. Managing upwards is only one half of leadership. The other half is managing the people for whom you're responsible. Get to know each of your people well. Find out what they're good at, find out what they enjoy, find out what their aspirations are, and then work hard to give them opportunities to do what they enjoy doing, to learn what they want to learn, and to succeed where their career needs the next success. Next, with your team as a whole, prioritize communication. Not just you communicating with them, you listening to them, but building a culture where everyone in your team is perfectly willing to communicate with one another and smart enough to know who they need to communicate with and when to withhold communication because the other person just doesn't need to know and doesn't care to know. You will not always be there as the leader, so if you become the hub of all communication, then you also become the single point of failure. But if you can create a culture where everyone communicates with one another, then, should you need to be away, your team can carry on regardless, communicating well and getting their work done. In that way, as a leader, you have facilitated their success rather than simply being the crutch upon which they lean. Next, do whatever you can to make their lives easy. Provide them with the knowledge, the information, the resources they need to do their job. Fight for better equipment, better software, more time, so that they can do a better job and they can see you fighting for them. But also protect them from the nonsense that organisations throw at us. If there is some small, tedious admin to do, you don't want your whole team distracted by doing it, so do it yourself. Relieve them of the problem and they will perform for you. And finally, you're managing up and you're managing your people, you also need to manage yourself. You cannot lead people unless you take care of yourself. There's a message that comes on the intercom on every flight. If the oxygen masks drop down, fix your oxygen mask first before helping other people. You cannot lead, you cannot support your boss if you are not in the best of physical, mental and emotional states. Therefore, take care of your mental health, take care of your emotional health and take care of your physical health. Prioritize exercise, rest and relaxation, good quality diet, and of course, the relationships that make us as individuals and as human beings strong. So, my advice for any new leader is to look upwards to their boss, to look around them to their team, and to look inside. You have to balance those three priorities and deliver on all of them. However, while this may all sound simple, it is far from easy to do all of this all the time. So make yourself a reminder so that at any time you can check whether you've got the balance right. And if you have, you will become a useful and effective leader in your organization. The function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. That quote comes from Ralph Nader, the political activist and environmentalist. And I think it is a hugely valuable insight for us as project managers. And in this short video, I want to tell you why. The function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. It's easy to see leadership as about your role in drawing followers along with you and bringing more people into the fold and making them feel comfortable with your leadership. But for me, that is an old-fashioned approach to leadership. Many of my viewers and readers will know that I favour a model of leadership called servant leadership, which sees you as leader having the role of serving the people who follow you. And an important part of that service is helping each of them to grow in the direction of their best selves. And for many of them, that will be a leadership role at some point, soon or later in their career. As a leader, your job is to help prepare people for their future leadership roles, to give them the knowledge, the understanding, the experience, the expertise and the skills to lead in whatever domain they will choose to. Ralph Nader is absolutely right. If, as a leader, you can create a whole cadre of new leaders, you will start filling the world with the kind of people who can make a difference. For him, that difference is in environmentalism and in political activism. For us, it's in the practical, pragmatic job of getting things done, of making things happen, and delivering projects. But if you aspire to real leadership, then you will also aspire to creating real leaders who can follow on from you and lead their own projects and create their own change. Like all project managers, when I'm approaching a big milestone, in my darker moments, I start to worry. And when I start to worry, mentally, I start preparing my excuses. But the fact is, excuses won't cut it. It's not my fault, maybe your starting point. But who's to blame? The answer is always clear. When things go wrong, whose fault is it? That's easy. I've assembled my answers ready for you to consider them. It's the technology. It's your customers. It's the stakeholders. It's your team. It's the competition. Or maybe it's me. But it's not my fault. I didn't have enough time. I'm too old. I'm too young. It's my education. It's my upbringing. I've never done anything like this before. It's the events I can't control. It's the higher ups in my organisation. It's the people down below me. It's my manager. It's my boss. It's my stakeholders. Or perhaps it's just bad luck. No, no, no. Face it, project managers. You know that there are a lot of things that are outside of your control. But the fact is, those are just excuses. So, before you start planning your excuses, start planning your project. Put work into proactive risk management so things are less likely to go wrong and less likely to go badly wrong. And if things do go wrong, stop looking for blame and start looking for solutions. And after that, learn the lessons. As a project manager, you need to get used to setbacks. You need to get over them, get used to them, and embrace them as part of your learning journey. What matters is not that you don't make mistakes, because you will. What matters is how you handle them, how you handle setbacks, and how you bounce back from them. Managers can get things done through authority. Their staff work for them, and it is therefore the job of the staff to do as the manager instructs. and managers focus primarily on tasks and on getting things done. But as a project manager, your life isn't that simple, because very often the people working on your project don't work for you. And therefore, you have a bigger challenge, the challenge to lead. And that's what I want to speak about in this video. As a project manager, you will rarely have formal authority over all of the people in your team. Often, many of them, possibly all of them, will work for some other person or people, and they sometimes won't even work within your own organisation. So therefore, the usual rules about management don't all apply. You can't simply get things done by telling people what to do. That just won't work. So how do you lead people? How do you lead without authority? When you don't have that kind of authority, you need to rely on other things, like influence and persuasion, personality and depth of character, motivation and inspiration, and of course, respect and loyalty. Your job as a project leader is to inspire all of that in your people. And that's a big ask, because it's a big step up from the highly technical, process-oriented roles of a project manager that we often see in core project management training and in many of the project management qualifications available. So I want to talk you through 9 habits that will help you to lead without authority. Habit number 1, ironically, is authority. But I don't mean the hierarchical authority that you almost certainly won't have over all of your team members. I mean the authority that comes with depth of credibility, expertise, experience, knowledge, skill, and the character that you have. Because people look to leaders who have that kind of authority, that they can trust, that they knows what they're doing. A lot of it is our search for certainty and confidence in the people who lead us. And we detect that kind of confidence and certainty in our leaders when they show that they know what they're doing. So, although all of the process-oriented technical aspects of project management aren't necessarily about leadership, I do believe they are a fundamental foundation to your ability to lead. Because without them, the team members that you're asking to follow you won't have that confidence in your credibility and your authority to lead. However, if you can constantly show that you know what you're talking about and that you're prepared to stand behind the decisions that you make, that will inspire confidence. It will give a sense of certainty, and therefore it will lend you the kind of intellectual and character-driven authority that you need to lead when you don't have formal hierarchical authority. Habit number 2 is acting with fairness and integrity. It's building up a sense that people can trust you, that you will do the right thing, and you will act fairly in any situation. This is crucial. In fact, it was John Stacey Adams who first identified fairness as a driving force for motivation in the workplace. If we do not feel that we are being treated fairly, then we will not be motivated. He called this equity theory. So a big part of the integrity and fairness that you have to have as a project manager is making sure that you treat all of your people, your team members and your stakeholders fairly. This goes well beyond not discriminating and not favouring certain members of your team, although I hope that goes without saying. It's about making sure that every decision that you make, every choice that you make, is rooted in a fair assessment of the situation. Habit number 3 is giving your team members a good reason why they should do what you're asking them to do. Because human beings have a deep need for a sense of purpose and meaning. And you've probably experienced it at some point in your career. Someone asks you to do something, but doesn't tell you why they want you to do it. And in your mind, you're thinking, why? And yet, knowing it's your job, you do it. You just don't feel motivated. Well, amplify that over the course of a whole project, and people having to do things that they don't understand, that make no sense to them, for which they can see no purpose, and you'll end up, at best, with a demotivated team, at worst, with a team who just won't do the things you ask them to do. Start any project by being clear what the value of that project is, the why to the project. And throughout the project, emphasize its value, its purpose, its meaning, so that people can feel proud in what they're doing because they know it has that value. And then when you ask people to do something, make sure that they are clear the link between what you're asking them to do and the end value of the project. That chain of meaning is highly motivating. And on the other side, if there is no good because to the question why, then you won't be able to motivate your team members. Habit number 4 is getting to know people and building a relationship with them. Because the more I get to know you, the more you get to know me. And the more you get to know me, almost certainly, the more you will like me, particularly if I build a relationship based on trust and based on an interest in you. And of course, the reality is that we will often do more for the people that we like and respect than we do for ourselves, which means that when your project is under pressure, then your team members will want to work for you. They will want to get the project done, firstly because they value the meaning behind the project, and second because they value their relationship with you. Habit number 5 is supporting and guiding people, being a mentor, being a support to them. When they have problems, be there to help them. When they need a little nudge in the right direction, be there to guide them. The role of project manager as coach and mentor to team members is one that I take very seriously. Because what people want to do when they join a project, when they do any work, is to feel they're learning stuff and growing professionally, but in a way that they feel safe. You can stretch people and ask them to do difficult things, but if you push them too far, then they don't feel confident and they don't feel safe in taking those risks, and that's where you need to support them as well as just guide them. Habit number 6 is engaging people to think for themselves and to make their own choices and decisions. As much as you can, delegate to people in an outcome-based way rather than a task-based way. Tell people what they need to achieve and not how they need to achieve it. Unless, of course, there are regulatory reasons why a particular process must be followed. Let people learn for themselves. As long as that learning process doesn't subject them or the project or you or stakeholders to danger and unnecessary risk, then this is how people learn. And of course, this means that sometimes your team members will make mistakes. But remember that through your career, you've made many mistakes and learned from them. Your job as a manager and leader is not to stop people from making mistakes. It's to stop them from making the wrong mistakes, mistakes that can hurt them or hurt other people. So as much as possible, let people make choices for themselves, because we are motivated by this kind of autonomy. Habit number 7 is advocating for your people. Doing what you can to remove all of the obstacles from their way so that they can get on and do the good job that they want to do for you and that you want them to do for you. And this means dealing with administration. It means finding the resources people need. It's taking away blockages. It's making sure that they see their work life as fair and that they can get on with their jobs. Habit number 8 is being kind. Doing things for your people, acting with compassion and generosity, making choices that are not only fair, but make people feel good. As a project manager, you do have discretion about how you allocate people and the hours you set them to work. When people find that they need a little bit of a favour from you, do that favour for them. You will know if they're taking advantage of you, but most people won't take advantage of you. They simply want to get on with their work, but also be able to deal with urgent situations that arise in their private lives and in their professional lives. And by acting generously, by acting with compassion, you further build up loyalty. And habit number 9 is to actively create opportunities for people to learn and develop and grow. Find opportunities that will stretch and extend the knowledge and skill set of your team members. Don't just give them dull work that they can do easily. Allow them to take on new challenges. Listen to them, find out what their passions are, what their enthusiasms are, the direction they want to take their career, and look for opportunities that will help them. And the 2 times when this is particularly important is at the beginning of the project, when you're setting up assignments right from the start, and at the end of the project when you need to be sensitive to people's need to move on from your project. If people feel you are as much on the lookout for opportunities as they are, and that you will grant them the chance to leave your project and move to the next project when the right opportunity arises, then they will be a lot less distracted by trying to find something for themselves, and therefore they will work harder and get on better with their job towards the end of their project. So getting things done and managing without formal authority is a real challenge, and it calls for real leadership. Management and leadership is easy if I know that you will do what I ask you to do because you feel you have to. But in projects, that's rarely the case. So develop the kinds of habits that will make people want to work with you, want to work for you, and want to perform at their best. In this video, I'll tackle the fundamentals of leading a project team. The fundamental principle of leading a project team is that you get the team that you deserve. That doesn't mean that if you're a good person, the universe will reward you with a good team. And if you're a bad person, the universe will punish you with a bad team. If only life were that fair. What it means is that if you put in the work, if you support and guide and cherish your team, if you help the individuals and if you build a great team, then that's what you will get. But if, on the other hand, you look at the team you've got and say, they're rubbish, I'm never going to have a good team, and you abandon them and you look for opportunities to prove that you were right and to highlight their failures, then that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and the team that you get will live down to your expectations. In this way, if you put in the work, or if you fail to put in the work, you will get the team that you deserve. The next 4 principles of project team leadership lead us to the 4 essentials, the fundamentals of what you need to do in leading a project team. The second principle is to give everyone the attention that they need. The first essential of project team leadership is clearly the individual within the team, because a team is made up of individuals, and the greater the breadth of personalities, styles, experience, background, cultures that the individuals bring to your team, then the stronger your team will be, the greater its ability to solve problems, and the more robust will be the decisions that it's able to make. However, as a project team leader, you need to invest in your relationship with each of those individuals. You need to get to know them, what their strengths are, what their passions are, what their ambitions are. You need to celebrate what they are good at rather than deprecate what they are poor at. And you need to find ways to play to their strengths and give them opportunities to develop in the directions where they want to go. And this means getting to know each of your team members as an individual, to spend time with each of them. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should be spending an equal amount of time with each team member. And what it means is that over time you will spend the right amount of time with each team member. For any one individual, this may be high at one point in the cycle and less at another. Overall, I would expect it to balance out. This is not difficult in principle, but the challenge, of course, is that there will be some team members that you find it easier to get on with. However, you need to make the effort to spend time with all of them, no matter how challenging that is, either on a personal level or on a logistical level. Because let's face it, in modern project teams, not all of your team members are equally easy to access. The third principle is that people need to feel part of something worthwhile. Therefore, the second essential role of a project team leader is to build a coherent team, a team that has a shared understanding of what it's trying to do and why it is trying to do it, and therefore a shared commitment to that goal. The simplest way you can do this is to do things together as a team. This doesn't mean grand ideas of team building, but it does mean creating habits and rituals among the team, things that we can all do together and recognize as binding us together. And by the way, this doesn't always necessarily have to involve the whole team, but what it does have to do is it has to have the capability of involving the whole team. If someone chooses to opt out of some discretionary activity, that's fine, as long as it's a choice and they're not forced to opt out because you have chosen an activity that is not well suited to them and their capabilities. The fourth principle is that people will only follow you if they are confident that you know where you're going. This demands a plan, which is the third essential component of your project team leader role. You need to create a plan, or more precisely, you need to ensure that the team has a shared plan that they can all believe in. If you as team leader go away and create it yourself, it may be magnificent, but it won't belong to the team. And also, with the best will in the world, even though you are the team leader, you only have one brain. The team collectively has more brains, and more brains mean better solutions to problems. If you get your team to work together to create a plan, then you will get a better plan because it will have applied more brains, and your team will commit to it because it's their plan, not yours. But your plan must also cater to the individuals in the team. Some people like a lot of detail on their plan, so the plan that you produce as a team needs to focus in on the details for those individuals, whereas for other individuals who prefer not to get too much detail so that they've got a bit of opportunity to be creative and to work in their own way, as the mood suggests to them, their part of the plan needs to be a little bit rougher around the edges and a little bit less precise. The fifth principle is to create an environment where your team can succeed. And the fundamental, essential task for you as a project team leader in this regard is to ensure a culture of good communication. Now, a poor team leader will communicate as little as they can get away with, leaving team members wondering how much better they could do if they only knew more. A better team leader will communicate as much as they possibly can within the constraints of confidentiality, They will make sure that their team knows everything that they can possibly tell them so that their team can do better. The problem with this model is that if that happens, the team will start to be doing a lot of the work themselves, and of course will get to know things that the leader doesn't know. So the communication direction will necessarily have to reverse itself. Now, the team leader needs to gather information from the team members who are doing the work. This is great, up to a point. And that point is where the team leader becomes the critical point of failure. That is, a hub and spoke model of communication means that if the team leader is away for any reason, then communication will start to fail, and then the team itself will fail. So the culture you should be creating as a brilliant project leader is one where the whole team knows and is capable of communicating amongst themselves. That's why so many modern project management tools put the premium on team communication. When the team can communicate amongst itself, then you are no longer essential for the proper functioning of the team. Now, to get the best from your team, as a project leader, you also need 4 skills. The first skill is listening, because even the best leaders don't know everything. Listening is, I believe, the primary communication skill. You need to be able to listen to what your team members and your stakeholders need and want to tell you. Sometimes people just need a damn good listening to so that they can get things off their chest. Often, team members and stakeholders who are frustrated don't need you to tell them what to do. They don't even need you to make things right. They just need to know that you hear what they are saying. It's tempting to think that listening just comes naturally. We've got 2 ears, we can hear, and therefore we can listen. But nothing could be further from the truth. Yes, we can easily listen to a degree, but listening well is a learned skill. The second skill to cultivate is encouraging, because your team members want to do well. A project team leader is there for their team. So you need to be able to guide and support and motivate them. You need to celebrate their successes and help fix up the mistakes they make, because they will make mistakes, and if you focus on those, you'll discourage them and demotivate them. A highly motivated team with an attitude of confidence and enthusiasm will perform to its best. So that is what you need to create. The secret to team encouragement is a combination of recognition, praise, and positive feedback. The third skill for a project team leader to cultivate is asserting, because there is work that needs to get done. Fundamentally, a project leader is paid to deliver your project. This means you need to be able to make things happen, to give instructions, and to speak without fear. There are plenty of ways to assert yourself, but assert yourself you must be prepared to do. And the fourth project team leadership skill is deciding, because projects are a series of choices. Each choice that you have as a project leader opens up opportunities, but also closes others down. You need to be able to understand the problems, figure out what's right, and set your team's priorities. And you need to ensure that your decision-making is accountable, transparent, and recorded. Leading a project team is simple. We've looked at 5 principles and 4 skills that you need to cultivate. That's all. And each of those principles and each of those skills is simple in themselves. The problem is that simple is not the same as easy. It may be simple to pay attention to individuals, to build a team, to construct a plan, and to make sure people communicate, but none of that is easy in an environment of constant change, of uncertainty, ambiguity, and complexity. Being a project team leader is simple, but it is not easy. Wise leadership makes a difference. Whilst smart leaders can keep a project on an even keel, wise leaders know when there is an opportunity and have the wisdom to seize that opportunity and make the very best of it. So in this video, we'll look at what wise leadership is and what it can do for you. The two primary forms of wisdom are known typically by their Greek names of Sophia and Phronesis. Phronesis is practical wisdom, the wisdom it takes to get things done, to make things happen. Practical wisdom enables us to navigate the challenges and the obstacles that face us and to deal with the realities of a political situation in an organisation. Sophia, on the other hand, is the wisdom to make good choices. It's easy to find ourselves dissipating all of our energy around a whole load of different activities and endeavours. Sophia allows us to choose how we're going to use our time, what we're going to put our energy into to get the best results. The best thing we can do is to focus on one thing at a time and to give it all of our commitment and to see it through. Sophia is the wisdom about deciding which one thing to commit to. And our word decide comes from the Latin decidere, which means to cut off from. When we decide, when we make a choice, we are cutting ourselves off from a load of possibilities while we focus on the ones we've chosen. Wise leadership is mindful of unintended consequences. Every decision will have consequences, and not all of them are the consequences that we intended or even foresaw. Wise leaders know this, so they play out multiple scenarios in thinking through their decision, rather like a chess grandmaster will see many moves ahead in the game in order to get an advantage against their competitor. You will never be able to maintain a 100% success rate in making the right decision. However, by thinking through the possible outcomes of every choice in front of you, you will improve your success rate. Wise leaders can see the small details and the subtle trends. Among the maxims on Lord Naoshige's wall is written, "Matters of great concern should be considered lightly." Master Ite commented, "Matters of small concern should be treated seriously." This strange quote comes from the Japanese book Hagakure. In the Shadow of the Leaves, it is often referred to as the Samurai Manual, and it's full of great wisdom that makes you think. This quote is one of my favourites because it reminds us that the small details of the situation matter greatly. The wise leader will take account of all of the little details in making their choices. Wise leaders can synthesize details into a broad context. Perceiving all those little details is of no use to you unless you can place them within the broader context. The value of the details is in ensuring that your understanding is not just superficial and that you have spotted the small factors which can make a big difference over a period of time. Build the kind of deep, rich and textured understanding of whatever situation you find yourself in, so you can build nuance into your decisions and your actions. Wise leadership learns constantly to adapt to changing situations. Smart leaders learn what they need to thrive in a constantly changing world. Wise leaders learn constantly because they know that they can't predict how the constantly changing world will change. They know that every scrap of knowledge and understanding they gain may come in useful as the situation changes in ways they couldn't possibly have predicted. The knowledge you think you need to know may not be the knowledge you actually need. A knowledge that is random or peripheral to your central concerns today may turn out to be crucial tomorrow. Deeper and broader understanding will not only enable you to perceive more subtlety in the situations, but will give you more choices into how you can act. Wise leadership can exert self-control under pressure. It's easy to be self-assured and to feel completely in control in set-piece events. The tougher challenge is to remain fully in control as events themselves spiral out of control. Wise leaders who know how to remain calm are the ones that inspire us with confidence in difficult times. However, wise leaders remain honest about who they are. Maintaining a level of confidence and self-control in difficult times is not about bluffing. It is not about pretending things are all right when they're not. And it certainly isn't about refusing to acknowledge the danger and the fear that you have. Wise leaders are authentic to themselves. They acknowledge the challenges and the difficulties they face, and they're honest with the people around them and the peril that those people may be in. Don't hide yourself behind some fancy shop front. Instead, develop your finer self to be better than you were yesterday, and better than the people around you. Wise leaders know that the bystanders matter. This doesn't mean that everybody is right. How could they possibly be? But it does mean that their opinions are worth listening to, and it does mean that their concerns, their fears, and their emotions are worth respecting. You don't have a duty to everyone, but you do need to understand the need for balance, to balance priorities, and to recognize that if there is a cost to the sum of your stakeholders, then you must be prepared to be honest about it and to do whatever you can to mitigate it. The bystanders matter, and this doesn't just mean now, it means the future. Everything we do as a project manager will affect people in the future, and yet they won't have a say in what we're doing. So be respectful of their situation. Wise leaders know their role is to serve. Leadership is like a circle. When you truly lead, people will willingly follow. But that gives you a responsibility to them. A wise leader has a responsibility to help others become healthier, wiser, freer, and more autonomous. Robert Greenleaf used those words to describe what he called servant leadership. To get the best from the people you lead, you need to serve them so they are free to do their best work. Many of these ideas are inspired by my book, Smart to Wise, The 7 Pillars of True Success. And not long ago, I got the rights back from the original publisher, Marshall Cavendish, and have issued my own second edition as a Kindle exclusive ebook. I'll put a link to it down below. If you want to support this channel, then do take a look at Smart to Wise. It's one of my books that I am most proud of. I spent the longest time of all my books researching it, and I think it is filled with great advice to help you move in your career from being smart to being wise. Please do give this video a like if you've enjoyed it or learned from it. I'll be creating loads more great project management videos for you, so please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of them. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.